The sound of laughter floated through Naomi's house as she stood frozen in her own kitchen doorway, grocery bags still clutched in her trembling hands. She had come home early from her business trip, excited to surprise her husband Brandon. The surprise was hers, but not the kind she had imagined during the entire flight home. She has no idea. Tiffany's voice rang out from the living room, filled with cruel amusement. God, Brandon, she actually thinks we're friends. She invited me to her book club last week. Brandon's laugh made Naomi's stomach turn. She knew that laugh. It was the same one he used when he told her he loved her just 3 days ago, before she left for Chicago. But this laugh held something different. Something mean. You deserve an award for that performance, Brandon said. The way you act around her, all sweet and supportive. Meanwhile, we've been bleeding her company dry for 6 months. Naomi's legs nearly gave out. She set the grocery bags down silently on the kitchen counter, her whole body shaking. Tiffany worked for her. Naomi had hired her 8 months ago as the marketing director for her consulting firm. She had trusted her with sensitive information, with client accounts, with passwords. The best part is the prenup, Tiffany continued. Or should I say the prenup she thinks she has. Your lawyer friend really came through, switching those documents. When you file for divorce, she's going to lose everything. Half of everything, Brandon corrected. Which is basically everything, since I convinced her to put my name on the business accounts. She was so desperate to show me she trusted me after that fight we had last year. Naomi remembered that fight. She had questioned why Brandon never seemed to contribute financially to their household despite his supposed real estate business. He had cried. He had told her she was the love of his life. He had said her doubts were killing him. She had apologized for weeks, trying to prove she trusted him completely. She had been such a fool. When are you going to do it? Tiffany asked. I'm getting tired of sneaking around. Next month, Brandon said. Once her big contract with the Morrison Corporation goes through. That's a $2 million deal. I want to make sure all that money is in the joint account first. Then I file, take half, and you and I can start our life together. Maybe we'll buy that beach house in Mexico you keep talking about. With her money, Tiffany giggled. This is almost too easy. She's so busy trying to be this big businesswoman that she doesn't pay attention to anything. Last week, I transferred $50,000 out of the client trust account, and she didn't even notice. Naomi had noticed. She had questioned it just yesterday, but Tiffany had explained it was a scheduled payment to a vendor. Naomi had believed her because why wouldn't she? Tiffany was her employee, her friend, someone she had welcomed into her life. The only thing I'll miss is how good she cooks, Brandon said. Remember that pot roast last Sunday? That was incredible. Please, Tiffany scoffed. I'll hire us a chef with all the money we're about to have. We can have pot roast every night if you want. Their laughter filled the house again, the home that Naomi had bought with her own money before she even met Brandon. The home she had renovated with her savings. The home she had made into their sanctuary. Naomi backed away from the doorway, her mind racing. Every moment of the past 2 years flickered through her memory like a movie, but now with the truth overlaid on top. Brandon's sudden interest in her business. His suggestions that she bring on a marketing director. His friend who recommended Tiffany. His insistence that they combine their finances to show their commitment to each other. It had all been a setup. She picked up the grocery bags as quietly as she had set them down. Her hands were steadier now. Something inside her had shifted from shock to something else. Something cold and clear. She walked back out to her car, placed the groceries in the trunk, and sat in the driver's seat. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She pulled out her phone and opened her banking app. The joint account showed a balance of $432,000. Her business account, the one she had foolishly added Brandon to as a co-signer, held nearly $800,000, with more coming when the Morrison deal closed. Naomi opened a new browser window and started searching for divorce lawyers. Then she searched for forensic accountants. Then she searched for private investigators. She sat in her car outside her own house for 2 hours, making notes, forming plans, her mind working through possibilities with the same precision she used to solve her clients' business problems. This was just another problem that needed a solution. The only difference was that this one was personal. When she finally went back inside, Brandon was alone, watching television. "Hey baby," he said with that same smile he always gave her. "I didn't know you were coming home early." Naomi looked at him, this man she had pledged her life to, and smiled back. "I wanted to surprise you," she said softly. "I missed you." "I missed you too," he said, pulling her into a hug. Naomi let him hold her, let him kiss her cheek, let him tell her about his day. She responded the way she always did, asked the right questions, laughed at his jokes. But inside she was already gone. Inside she was building a fortress. Inside she was planning a war. And she was going to win. Naomi stood in front of her bathroom mirror at 5 in the morning, practicing her smile. It had to be perfect. Not too bright, or Brandon would wonder what she was so happy about. Not too dim, or he might think something was wrong. Just the same smile she had worn for the past 2 years. "You can do this," she whispered to her reflection. The woman staring back at her looked the same as yesterday. Same deep brown skin that she moisturized religiously. Same dark eyes that Brandon used to say reminded him of midnight. Same natural hair that she had spent years learning to love and care for. But inside everything was different. She went through her morning routine on autopilot. Shower. Lotion. The simple makeup she wore to the office. A navy blue dress that Brandon had once said made her look professional and beautiful at the same time. She wondered now if he had said that because Tiffany told him to, as part of their sick game. Brandon was still asleep when she left for the office. She didn't wake him. She simply grabbed her bag, her coffee, and walked out the door. The drive to her office building took 30 minutes in morning traffic. Naomi used every minute to prepare herself for what came next. She had to act normal. She had to be the same Naomi who trusted her husband and her marketing director. The same Naomi who worked hard but didn't pay attention to the details she should have noticed. Her company, Sterling Solutions, occupied the 5th floor of a downtown office building. She had started it 7 years ago with nothing but a business degree, some savings, and a dream. Now she had 15 employees and clients across 3 states. She had built something real, something valuable. And 2 people she trusted had been trying to take it from her. Naomi unlocked her office and immediately went to her computer. Before anyone else arrived, she needed to start documenting everything. She opened her email and began searching for every message Tiffany had ever sent her. Every expense report. Every client communication. Every single digital footprint. She created a new folder on her personal cloud storage and began copying files. Emails about marketing expenses that seemed high. Messages about client accounts. Reports that Tiffany had submitted. She copied everything. By 7:30, when her assistant Greg arrived, Naomi was working on a client proposal like it was any other day. "Morning, Naomi," Greg said, poking his head into her office. "You're here early." "Couldn't sleep," Naomi said, which was true. She had maybe gotten 2 hours of rest. "Excited about the Morrison deal closing next week." "We all are," Greg grinned. "That's going to be huge for us. Tiffany was just telling me yesterday how this could open doors to even bigger contracts." Naomi's smile didn't waver. Tiffany is great at seeing the big picture. After Greg left, Naomi's smile faded. She pulled out her phone and texted her friend Christine, the lawyer she had found last night. "Can we meet today? It's urgent." Christine responded within minutes. "Lunch at Paolo's." "No. I'll be there." The rest of the morning dragged by. Naomi sat through a team meeting where Tiffany presented marketing metrics. She watched this woman laugh and joke with the other employees, acting like she was part of the family Naomi had built. She watched her suggest strategies for future growth she planned to steal. "Excellent work, Tiffany," Naomi said when the presentation ended. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "That's so sweet," Tiffany beamed. "I love working here. This company means everything to me." Naomi wanted to throw her coffee in Tiffany's face. Instead, she just smiled wider. At noon, Naomi walked 4 blocks to Paolo's, a quiet Italian restaurant where she and Christine used to meet during college. Christine was already there, sitting in a corner booth, her lawyer persona fully in place even though she wore jeans and a sweater. "Tell me everything," Christine said as soon as Naomi sat down. And Naomi did. She told her about coming home early. About the conversation she overheard. About the joint accounts and the business accounts. About the prenup that might not be real. About Tiffany's embezzlement. Christine listened without interrupting, taking notes on her tablet. When Naomi finished, Christine looked up with fire in her eyes. "First thing," Christine said, "we need to verify that prenup. If he switched documents, that's fraud. But Naomi, I need to ask you something important. Are you sure you want to fight this? Divorce is hard. Fighting fraud charges is harder. This is going to get ugly." "I'm sure," Naomi said without hesitation. "They tried to destroy me. They planned this. They laughed about it. I want them to face consequences." Christine nodded. "Then we need to be smart. Don't let them know you know. Keep acting normal. We need time to build a case. Can you do that?" "I've been doing it all morning," Naomi said. "Good. Second, we need a forensic accountant to go through your business accounts. I know someone who's excellent and discreet. Third, we need to protect your assets right now, today, before they can take anything else. How do we do that without them noticing? We'll have to be creative, Christine said. But it's possible. The key is you have to keep pretending everything is normal. That's going to be the hardest part. Naomi thought about going home tonight to Brandon. About cooking dinner for him. About sleeping next to him. About continuing to exist in a life that was built on lies. I can do it, she said. I can do whatever it takes. They spent the rest of lunch planning strategy. Christine explained the legal process, the timeline, the things Naomi needed to gather as evidence. By the time Naomi walked back to her office, she had a plan. A real plan. The afternoon brought more challenges. Brandon texted her asking what she wanted for dinner. She responded with a heart emoji and said she would pick up Thai food on the way home. Tiffany stopped by her office to discuss a new client proposal, sitting in the chair across from Naomi's desk like they were partners, like they were friends. You seem different today, Tiffany said suddenly. Everything okay? Naomi's heart skipped, but her face stayed calm. Just tired from the trip. You know how it is. You work too hard, Tiffany said with fake concern. You should take a vacation. Maybe you and Brandon could go somewhere nice. Maybe we will, Naomi said. After the Morrison deal closes. Of course, Tiffany smiled. Always business first with you. After Tiffany left, Naomi closed her office door and let herself breathe. This was going to be harder than she thought. She was going to have to be an actress every single day, maybe for weeks or months, until everything was in place. But as she looked around her office, at the business she had built from nothing, at the future she had created with her own 2 hands, Naomi felt something solidify inside her. This was her life, her company, her success, and she would be damned if she let 2 selfish, cruel people take it from her. That evening she picked up Thai food like she had promised. She went home to the house she had bought. She smiled at Brandon and told him about her day. She let him hug her and kiss her and tell her he loved her. And all the while, behind her smile, behind her kisses, behind her gentle touches, Naomi was building her defense. She was gathering her army. She was preparing for battle. They thought she was weak. They thought she was stupid. They thought they had already won. They had no idea what was coming. The law office of Christine Morrison and Associates was located in a sleek glass building that made Naomi feel both intimidated and empowered at the same time. She had come here right after work, telling Brandon she had a networking event. Another lie to add to the collection she was building. Christine met her in a private conference room with another woman who looked to be in her 50s, wearing a sharp gray suit and carrying an expression that said she had seen everything. Naomi, this is Patricia Chen, Christine began. Naomi interrupted gently. I'm sorry, but I have a preference about names. Could we perhaps use something else? Patricia looked surprised but nodded. Of course. How about you call me Trish? Trish is a forensic accountant, Christine continued. She's the best in the city and she's agreed to look at your accounts. I've reviewed the preliminary information Christine sent me, Trish said, opening her laptop. What you're describing sounds like systematic embezzlement combined with identity fraud. These are serious criminal charges, not just civil matters. Naomi sat down, the weight of the situation hitting her again. I just want to protect what's mine. We're going to do more than that, Trish said firmly. We're going to make sure they face consequences. But first, I need access to your accounts. All of them. Business and personal. For the next hour, Naomi provided login information, answered questions about her business structure, and explained every financial decision she had made over the past 2 years. Trish took notes rapidly, occasionally stopping to ask for clarification. The prenup concerns me most, Trish said finally. If he did switch documents, we need the original. Do you remember who witnessed it? Naomi thought back. Brandon's lawyer handled everything. He said his friend was doing it as a favor to save us money. The witnesses were people from his office. That should have been your first red flag, Christine said gently. You should have had your own lawyer. I know that now, Naomi said quietly. I trusted him. Trust is good, Trish said. But verification is better. From now on we verify everything. Do you have any family who could help you through this? Naomi hesitated. I have a brother, Thomas. We haven't spoken in a few years. We had a falling out over something stupid. What does he do? He's a financial analyst for Bennett Corporation. He's really good with money and investments. Christine and Trish exchanged glances. You need to call him, Christine said. You need support and his expertise could be valuable. What was the fight about? He didn't like Brandon, Naomi admitted. He said Brandon seemed fake. I told Thomas he was being jealous and overprotective. We haven't really talked since my wedding. He was right, Trish said bluntly. Call him. Apologize if you need to. But you need people in your corner who care about you, not just professionals you're paying. After the meeting, Naomi sat in her car for a long time, staring at her phone. Thomas's number was still in her contacts. She had deleted it once in anger, then re-added it a month later but never called. Her finger hovered over the call button. What would she even say? That he had been right all along? That she had chosen a lying husband over her own brother? Before she could change her mind, she pressed dial. The phone rang 4 times. Then, Naomi? His voice sounded exactly the same. Surprised, cautious, but with an undertone of hope. Hi, Thomas, she said, and to her surprise, her voice cracked. I need help. 20 minutes later, they were sitting in a coffee shop downtown. Thomas had dropped everything to meet her. He looked good, older than the last time she saw him, with a few gray hairs at his temples that hadn't been there before. But his eyes were the same. Kind and worried. Tell me everything, he said. So Naomi did. For the second time that day, she recounted the whole horrible story. Thomas's expression grew darker with every sentence. I'm going to kill him, Thomas said when she finished. No, you're not, Naomi said firmly. No violence. No weapons. No threats. We're doing this legally and completely. Fine, Thomas said. But I want to help. Tell me what you need. Christine says I need to protect my assets before he can take more. But I don't know how to do that without him noticing something's wrong. Thomas pulled out his own tablet. I work with corporate restructuring. We do this kind of thing all the time, just usually for companies, not individuals. Let me see your account information. They spent the next hour going through Naomi's finances. Thomas's professional demeanor reminded her why he was so good at his job. He asked questions, made calculations, and started formulating a strategy. Here's what we're going to do, Thomas said finally. You have the Morrison deal closing next week, right? That money needs to go into an account Brandon doesn't have access to. We'll set up a new business account at a different bank, just in your name. We'll tell your current bank it's for a special project. Won't Brandon see that on the business statements? Not if we structure it right. The money comes in, gets reported as revenue, then gets transferred immediately to the new account as part of a legitimate business expense. Something like a reserve fund for expansion or a security deposit for new office space. We make it look normal until we're ready to make our move. That's brilliant, Naomi said. I learned from the best, Thomas said with a small smile. Mom and Dad would be proud of you for fighting back. You know that, right? Their parents had passed away 5 years ago in a car accident. The grief had been overwhelming, and in retrospect, Naomi realized that was when she had been most vulnerable to Brandon's manipulation. He had seemed so supportive during that dark time. She had needed someone to lean on, and he had been there. I'm sorry, Naomi said suddenly. About the fight. About choosing him over you. You tried to warn me. I'm your brother, Thomas said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. I'm always going to be here for you, even when you're being stubborn. I was so stubborn, Naomi agreed. You were in love, Thomas corrected. Or you thought you were. But Naomi, what you described hearing them say. That's not love. That's not even close to love. That's cruelty. Naomi nodded, feeling tears threaten for the first time since she had discovered the truth. She blinked them back. I have to go home soon. I told him I had a networking event. Do you have to go home? Thomas asked. You could stay with me. Not yet, Naomi said. If I change my routine, he'll know something's wrong. I need to keep everything normal until we have all our pieces in place. Thomas looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Okay. But Naomi? You call me every day. Morning and night. I need to know you're okay. I promise, she said. They hugged in the parking lot, and Naomi felt something she hadn't felt since she overheard that conversation. She felt like maybe, possibly, she could actually survive this. She wasn't alone. She had Christine and Trish and now Thomas. She had people who actually cared about her. On the drive home, Naomi stopped and picked up flowers. Brandon liked when she brought home flowers. He said it made the house feel romantic. She wondered how many other things he had pretended to like just to manipulate her. But when she walked through the door and he smiled at her, she smiled back. She put the flowers in a vase. She listened to him talk about his day. She made dinner. She played her part perfectly. Because she understood now that this was temporary. This pretending, this acting, this careful navigation of a life built on lies. It was all temporary. Soon, very soon, the truth would come out. And when it did, Brandon and Tiffany would learn exactly what happened when you underestimated Naomi Campbell. She was patient. She was smart. And now she had an army. Naomi developed a routine over the next 2 weeks that would have made any spy proud. She woke up before Brandon every morning, went to the office early, and spent the first hour documenting everything before anyone else arrived. Her personal cloud storage now contained hundreds of files. Every email Tiffany had ever sent. Every expense report that seemed questionable. Every client interaction that didn't quite add up. Screenshots of account transfers. Copies of bank statements. Videos of her computer screen as she clicked through financial records. Trish had taught her how to preserve digital evidence properly. Everything needs a timestamp, Trish had explained. Everything needs to be documented in a way that proves you didn't alter it. We're building a legal case, not just a personal vendetta. On Tuesday morning, Naomi discovered something that made her blood run cold. She was reviewing the client trust account, where money was held temporarily before being distributed to vendors or contractors. Over the past 6 months, Tiffany had made 17 transfers out of this account, each one between $5,000 and $20,000. Naomi pulled up the documentation Tiffany had submitted for each transfer. They were all marked as payments to various vendors. But when Naomi cross-referenced the vendor names with their actual accounts, none of the money had arrived at its intended destination. She picked up her phone and called Christine. "We have a big problem," Naomi said. "Tiffany has stolen over $200,000 from the client trust account." "Can you prove it?" "I have documentation of every transfer and the vendor accounts showing the money never arrived." "Send me everything," Christine said immediately. "This is criminal fraud. We need to move faster than we planned." That evening, Naomi had to sit through dinner with Brandon while her mind raced. He was talking about a real estate deal he was supposedly working on, but she barely heard him. All she could think about was the magnitude of what Tiffany had done. "You're quiet tonight," Brandon said, interrupting her thoughts. Naomi forced herself to focus. "Just worried about the Morrison deal. It closes in 3 days and I want everything to be perfect." "It will be," Brandon said, reaching over to touch her hand. "You're amazing at what you do. That's one of the things I love most about you." The words that used to make her heart flutter now made her feel sick. But she smiled anyway. "Thank you," she said softly. After dinner, Brandon said he had to go out for a couple of hours to meet with a potential client. Naomi knew exactly where he was going. He was going to see Tiffany. They probably thought they were so clever, meeting up while Naomi was supposedly clueless at home. The second his car pulled out of the driveway, Naomi was on her laptop. She logged into Brandon's email account using a password she had discovered written in his home office notebook. Thomas had helped her install monitoring software on Brandon's computer and phone, completely legal since they were still married, and it was his personal device. What she found made her jaw drop. Brandon had been communicating with someone named Gary Fletcher, apparently a lawyer. But these weren't normal client emails. These were detailed plans about the divorce. "Once the Morrison money is in the account, we move," one email read. "File the papers immediately before she has time to transfer anything. The prenup is ironclad." She signed it thinking it protected her business, but actually it gives you half of everything accumulated during the marriage, including business assets. Another email was even more damning. "Your friend at the bank confirmed that Naomi's signature on the account authorization forms matches. She has no idea you're listed as a full co-owner on every business account, not just a signer. When the divorce is filed, you can drain everything before she even knows what hit her." Naomi screenshot every single email. Her hands were shaking, but she forced herself to be methodical. Evidence. She needed evidence. She found more. Emails between Brandon and Tiffany that were explicit in nature but also discussed their plans. They were going to run away to Mexico. They had already been looking at properties. Tiffany had been slowly moving money into offshore accounts that Brandon had set up. This was so much bigger than just an affair. This was organized, systematic theft. Naomi sent everything to Christine and Trish, then called Thomas. "They have offshore accounts," she said when he answered. "This isn't just stealing from me. They're committing fraud on a level I didn't even imagine." "How much has she taken?" "Over $200,000 from the business. Plus whatever Brandon has been moving from our personal accounts. Thomas, the Morrison money is supposed to deposit on Thursday. That's $2 million. If they get access to that." "They won't," Thomas said firmly. "Did you set up the new account like I told you?" "Yes." First National Bank just in my name. I told my accountant it's a reserve fund. Good. On Thursday morning, you need to be at the bank when the transfer comes in. You need to move that money to the new account immediately. Brandon will notice. Not if we make it look like it's still there on paper. Give me access to your accounting software. I can make the numbers look right temporarily. That's illegal, isn't it? It's your money, Thomas said. We're not stealing anything. We're just protecting what's yours until the legal system catches up. Naomi thought about it. 6 weeks ago she would have said no. 6 weeks ago she believed in following every rule, trusting the system, being honest even when others weren't. But 6 weeks ago she hadn't known that her husband and employee were trying to destroy her. Okay, she said. Do it. Over the next 2 days Naomi barely slept. She went through the motions at work, smiled at Tiffany, responded to Brandon's texts. But every free moment was spent with Christine, Trish, and Thomas, building their case. Trish had brought in a private investigator named Rachel who specialized in financial crimes. Rachel discovered that Tiffany was actually married to a man named Jason, and she had been cheating on him with Brandon while also stealing from Naomi. The web of lies was staggering. I've seen a lot in my career, Rachel said during one of their meetings. But this might be the most calculated fraud I've encountered. They planned this for at least a year, probably longer. How do we prove it all? Naomi asked. We already have proof, Christine said, spreading documents across her conference table. We have the emails. We have the financial records. We have the falsified prenup. We have witness statements from your staff about suspicious behavior. We have timestamps and digital footprints. Naomi, we have enough to bury them. Then why are we waiting? Because we want to do this right, Christine explained. We could move now, but if we wait until after the Morrison money is secured, we can protect you completely. Once that money is safe in your new account, we file everything at once. Divorce papers, fraud charges, embezzlement charges, everything. They won't have time to hide or run. What about Tiffany's husband? Naomi asked. Does he know? Not yet, Rachel said. But he will. Once we file the charges, he'll be notified as part of the investigation. Naomi thought about this man she had never met, Jason, who was being betrayed just like she was. He deserves to know the truth. He will, Christine promised. But we have to do this right. Timing is everything. Thursday morning arrived. Naomi put on her best suit, a deep purple that her mother used to say brought out the warmth in her skin. She felt like she was going into battle, which in a way she was. Brandon was already up, unusually excited. Big day, he said with a smile that she now recognized as fake. The Morrison money comes in today, right? Should be hitting the account around 10, Naomi said casually, pouring coffee. We should celebrate, Brandon suggested. Maybe dinner at that nice restaurant you love? He wanted to celebrate her success so he could steal from it. The audacity was almost impressive. That sounds nice, Naomi said, kissing his cheek. The touch made her skin crawl, but she did it anyway. At the office, Naomi gathered her team for a morning meeting. Tiffany sat across the table taking notes, acting like the perfect employee. Greg was talking about a new marketing campaign. Her lead consultant Sharon was reviewing the Morrison contract details. Once this money comes through, Sharon said, we can finally move forward with expanding to the West Coast like we've been planning. Absolutely, Naomi agreed, looking directly at Tiffany. This is going to change everything for us. Tiffany smiled back. I can't wait to see where we go from here. At 9:45, Naomi excused herself and went to her office. She locked the door and pulled up her banking app. At exactly 9:53 her phone buzzed. Wire transfer received, $2 million. Her heart pounded. This was it. This was the moment everything changed. She called the bank. This is Naomi Campbell. I need to transfer the Morrison payment to our reserve account immediately. Of course, Miss Campbell. Give me just one moment. 5 minutes later it was done. $2 million was safely in an account that only she could access at a different bank, with her name alone on every document. She called Thomas. It's done. Good, he said. I'm updating your accounting software now. On paper it will still look like the money is in the original account. But the actual funds are protected. How long until Brandon notices? Depends on when he checks. Could be hours, could be days. It was 3 hours. At 1:15 Naomi's phone rang. Brandon's name flashed on the screen. Hey, she answered casually. Where's the Morrison money? His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. What do you mean? It's not in the account. The transfer shows as completed, but the money isn't there. That's strange, Naomi said, her acting skills at full force. Let me call the bank. Maybe it's a processing delay. Call them now, Brandon demanded. I will. I'm sure it's just a technical issue. These things happen with large transfers. Someone needs to tell him, Naomi said firmly. He'll be notified when the charges are filed, Hugh said. But if you want to give him a heads up, that's your choice. Naomi thought about it. This man was innocent just like she had been. He deserved to know the truth before his world came crashing down. I want to talk to him, Naomi decided. Rachel provided Jason's phone number and address. That afternoon, after the legal documents were finalized but before they were filed, Naomi drove to the address. It was a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. A small yard with a garden that someone clearly cared for. Wind chimes hanging from the porch. It looked like a home where people were happy. Naomi almost couldn't bring herself to knock on the door, knowing she was about to destroy that peace. But this man deserved the truth. A man answered on the second knock. He was average height, with kind eyes and wearing a t-shirt that said "World's Okayest Teacher." Can I help you? He asked. Are you Jason Reynolds? Yes. My name is Naomi Campbell. I think we need to talk about your wife. The expression on Jason's face shifted from confusion to concern. Is Tiffany okay? Did something happen? Can I come in? Jason stepped aside, letting her enter. The house was neat, filled with books and photos. Pictures of Jason and Tiffany on their wedding day. Pictures of them on vacation. A life documented in frames. They sat in the living room and Naomi told him everything. She watched his face go through the same progression of emotions she had experienced. Disbelief, denial, and finally horrible understanding. Are you sure? He asked, his voice breaking. Maybe there's a mistake. I'm sure, Naomi said gently. I have evidence. I overheard them planning everything. Jason buried his face in his hands. I thought we were happy. She told me she was working late on big projects. I was proud of her. I know, Naomi said. I felt the same way about my husband. Your husband? Jason looked up. Brandon Campbell? Yes. I've met him, Jason said bitterly. Tiffany introduced us at a company event last year. You seem nice. He told me how lucky I was to have Tiffany. The cruelty of it was staggering. They had looked their spouses in the face and lied without any remorse. I wanted you to hear it from me before the police contact you tomorrow, Naomi said. They're being charged with fraud and embezzlement. There's going to be an investigation. Jason nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Naomi said. You deserve to know the truth. As she left Jason's house, Naomi felt something unexpected. Relief. She had told the truth to someone who needed to hear it. She had acted with integrity even when others hadn't. That evening, Thomas made dinner while Naomi reviewed the final documents one more time. Everything was perfect. Every piece of evidence was organized. Every charge was documented. Every asset was protected. You okay? Thomas asked, setting a plate of pasta in front of her. I will be, Naomi said. After tomorrow. What time does everything happen? 9 o'clock. Christine files the divorce papers. Hugh files the criminal charges. Federal agents raid Tiffany's office and Brandon's home. Where will you be? In Christine's conference room, watching it all happen. Thomas sat down across from her. I'm proud of you. You know that, right? You could have just let them take everything. You could have walked away. But you fought back. I had to, Naomi said. Not just for me but for everyone they might have hurt next. People like them don't stop unless someone stops them. What happens to the company? Tiffany gets fired and arrested. I've already prepared a statement for the staff. Greg is going to step into the marketing director role temporarily. The business will survive. And you? I'll survive too, Naomi said. Eventually. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about tomorrow, about everything that would happen. Part of her was terrified. Part of her was excited. Part of her just wanted it to be over. At 3 a.m, her phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. Where are you? Why aren't you home? She ignored it. Another text. Naomi, I'm worried. Please answer me. She turned her phone off. At dawn, she got up and got ready. She chose a red dress, bold and confident. She did her makeup carefully. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw someone different than the woman who had stood in this same spot 2 weeks ago. That woman had been broken. This woman was ready for war. Let's do this, she said to her reflection. Friday morning broke clear and bright, but Naomi felt like she was walking through a storm. She arrived at Christine's office at 8 o'clock, an hour before everything would begin. The conference room had been set up like a command center with laptops, phones, and documents spread across every surface. Coffee? Christine offered, looking surprisingly calm for someone about to orchestrate the takedown of two criminals. Please, Naomi said, accepting the mug gratefully. Hugh Morrison arrived at 8:15, followed by Kyle Sanders and two federal agents who introduced themselves as Special Agent Jennifer Brooks and Special Agent Michael Torres. They wore dark suits and serious expressions. We have teams ready at both locations, Agent Brooks explained. We'll serve the search warrants simultaneously at 9 o'clock. One team at your office to secure Tiffany Reynolds, another at your home to secure Brandon Campbell. My home, Naomi said, the reality of it hitting her. They're going to arrest him in our house. Your house, Christine corrected gently. Your name is on the deed. He just lived there. At 8:30, Naomi called Greg, her assistant. Don't go to the office yet, she told him. Wait for my call. Something's happening and I'll explain everything soon. Is everything okay? Greg sounded worried. It will be, Naomi promised. At 8:45, Christine filed the divorce papers electronically. Done, she announced. The court has them. Brandon will be served today. At 8:55, Hugh filed the criminal charges. Charges are official, he said. Warrants are active. At exactly 9 o'clock, Naomi's phone rang. It was Sharon, her lead consultant. Naomi, there are federal agents at the office, Sharon said, panic in her voice. They're asking for Tiffany. They have a warrant. What's going on? Put Tiffany on the phone, Naomi said calmly. She could hear confusion in the background, voices talking over each other. Then Tiffany's voice, sharp with fake concern. Naomi? What's happening? Why are there agents here? Because you're under arrest, Naomi said clearly. For embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? The silence on the other end was satisfying. I don't know what you're talking about, Tiffany finally said, but her voice was shaking. Yes, you do. I know about the $247,000 you stole. I know about the offshore accounts. I know about your affair with Brandon. I know everything. You're crazy, Tiffany tried. You have no proof. Actually, I have mountains of proof. Emails, bank records, surveillance photos, witness statements. Should I continue? Another silence, longer this time. I want to speak to a lawyer, Tiffany said. That's a good idea, Naomi replied. You're definitely going to need one. She hung up and looked at the people in the conference room. They were all watching her with expressions that ranged from impressed to sympathetic. One down, Agent Torres said into his radio. Target secured at the business location. 5 minutes later, his radio crackled again. Team 2 here. We have a situation at the residential address. Agent Brooks grabbed her radio. What kind of situation? The male suspect is refusing to open the door. He's barricaded himself inside. Naomi's breath caught. She hadn't expected Brandon to try to run or hide. She had expected him to be shocked, maybe angry, but not this. I'm sending backup, Agent Brooks said. Hold your position. I want to go there, Naomi said suddenly. That's not a good idea, Christine warned. I don't care. That's my house. If he's going to destroy something or hurt himself, I need to be there. She has a point, Hugh said. It's her property. She has a right to be present. 20 minutes later, Naomi pulled up to her house with Christine, Agent Brooks, and Agent Torres. There were 3 police cars in her driveway and neighbors standing on their lawns, watching the drama unfold. The lead officer, a woman named Lieutenant Karen Martinez, approached them. He's not responding to our calls. We can hear him moving around inside, but he won't come to the door. Let me try, Naomi said. Miss Campbell, I'm not sure that's wise. Please. Maybe he'll respond to me. Lieutenant Martinez looked at Agent Brooks, who nodded. They walked Naomi to the front door, keeping her protected behind their bodies. Brandon, Naomi called through the door. I know you're in there. Please come out. This doesn't have to get worse than it already is. No response. Brandon, there are federal agents here. There are police here. You can't run from this. The best thing you can do is come out and face this with whatever dignity you have left. Still nothing. Brandon, I know everything. I know about the money you took. I know about the fake prenup. I know about you and Tiffany. I know about Mexico. I know about all of it. Finally, his voice came from inside, muffled and angry. You ruined everything. We had a plan. You mean you had a plan to steal from me? Naomi called back. You had a plan to destroy my business and run away with money you didn't earn. That's not a plan, Brandon. That's a crime. I loved you, he shouted. No, you didn't. You never loved me. You loved my money. There's a difference. You don't understand. Tiffany and I were meant to be together. You were just in the way. The words should have hurt, but they didn't. They just sounded pathetic. Then you should have divorced me honestly, Naomi said. You should have been a man about it instead of a thief. She heard something crash inside. Lieutenant Martinez immediately pulled Naomi back. That's enough. We're going in. Two officers moved forward with a battering ram. But before they could use it, the door opened. Brandon stood there and Naomi barely recognized him. His hair was a mess. His eyes were wild. He looked like a man whose world had just collapsed, which it had. Brandon Campbell, Agent Torres said, stepping forward. You're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy to commit theft, and wire fraud. Brandon looked past the agents to Naomi. How could you do this to me? Naomi stared at him, this man she had married, this man who had pretended to love her while planning to destroy her. How could I? Brandon, you tried to steal everything from me. You lied to me every single day. You brought another woman into my business and my life just to help you rob me. Don't you dare ask me how I could do this. We could have worked it out, he said desperately as the officers put handcuffs on him. No, we couldn't. Because working it out would require you to have a conscience, and you clearly don't have one. As they led Brandon to the police car, Naomi watched without emotion. She had thought this moment might feel satisfying or victorious, but it just felt necessary. Like taking out the trash or closing a door on something that should have ended a long time ago. Lieutenant Martinez approached her. Ma'am, we need to search the house. It's part of the warrant. You can be present if you'd like. Naomi nodded and followed them inside. The house she had loved now felt contaminated. Evidence of Brandon's panic was everywhere. Papers scattered across the floor. His laptop smashed on the kitchen counter. Drawers pulled open and emptied. He was looking for something, Agent Brooks observed. Probably evidence, Agent Torres said. But we already have everything we need. They searched for 2 hours, cataloging documents, seizing computers and phones, taking photos. Naomi stood in her own living room feeling like a stranger in a familiar place. When they finished, Christine touched her arm gently. Let's go. You don't need to stay here. I need to pack some clothes, Naomi said. Some personal things. She went upstairs to the bedroom she had shared with Brandon. The bed was unmade, his clothes thrown everywhere. She opened her closet and started pulling out outfits, shoving them into a suitcase. She grabbed her jewelry, her photo albums from before she met Brandon, her important documents. In the bathroom, she found evidence of another woman's presence. Hair products she had never bought. Makeup in shades she didn't wear. Tiffany had been here, in Naomi's home, in her private space. The violation of it made her want to burn the whole house down, but instead, she just took what was hers and walked away. Back at Thomas's apartment, Naomi collapsed on his couch. The adrenaline that had kept her going all morning was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. It's done, she said. They're both arrested. The charges are filed. It's really done. How do you feel? Thomas asked. Empty, Naomi admitted. I thought I'd feel victorious or happy or something. But I just feel empty. That's normal, Thomas said. You've been running on pure determination for 2 weeks. Now that the immediate crisis is over, your body is crashing. You need to rest. I can't rest yet. I need to tell my employees what happened. I need to figure out how to move forward. I need to. You need to sleep, Thomas interrupted firmly. Everything else can wait until tomorrow. But sleep wouldn't come. Naomi lay in Thomas's guest room, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in her mind. 2 years of marriage gone. A company she had trusted an employee to help run, betrayed. Money stolen. Trust shattered. She picked up her phone and found she had dozens of texts and calls. Clients who had heard rumors. Employees who were confused. Friends who were shocked. Even people she barely knew reaching out with questions or support. One text stood out. It was from Jason Reynolds. Thank you for warning me. I found proof in our house. She's been lying about everything. I'm filing for divorce too. Naomi texted back. I'm sorry you're going through this. No one deserves this. Neither do you, he replied. But we'll survive. Naomi hoped he was right. She hoped they would both survive this and come out stronger. But right now, survival seemed like a distant goal. Her phone rang. It was Christine. I wanted to give you an update, Christine said. Both Brandon and Tiffany have been processed and are being held pending bail hearings. The DA is arguing their flight risks given the offshore accounts and Mexico plans. Will they get bail? Probably, but it will be high. And they'll be monitored. Naomi, you did it. You protected yourself and ensured they'll face justice. Why doesn't it feel better? Naomi asked quietly. Because you're a good person, Christine said. Good people don't enjoy destroying others, even when those others deserve it. You did what you had to do, but that doesn't mean you have to be happy about it. Give yourself time to process everything. After hanging up, Naomi finally fell asleep, but her dreams were troubled. She dreamed of Brandon's face when he was arrested. She dreamed of her empty house. She dreamed of starting over from nothing. When she woke up, it was Saturday morning. The bail hearings were scheduled for Monday. The real legal battle would begin soon. But for now, Naomi had a different battle to face. She needed to tell her employees the truth and figure out how to rebuild the trust that had been shattered in her company. Monday morning, Naomi stood in front of her entire staff in the conference room at Sterling Solutions. They looked worried, confused, and scared. Greg had tried to maintain normalcy on Friday after Tiffany's arrest, but rumors had spread like wildfire. Thank you all for coming, Naomi began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I know the past few days have been confusing and concerning. You deserve to know the truth about what happened. She told them everything. Not every detail, but enough. How Tiffany had been embezzling from the company. How she had discovered it. How she had worked with lawyers and accountants to build a case. How Tiffany was now facing criminal charges. Your jobs are safe, Naomi assured them. The business is secure. The money that was stolen has been documented, and we'll recover what we can through the legal process. But more importantly, this company is strong because of all of you, not because of one person who betrayed us. Sharon raised her hand. How did we not see it? We worked with her every day. Because she was good at lying, Naomi said honestly. Because we trusted her. That's not a weakness on our part. That's a weakness in her character. We should be able to trust our colleagues. The fact that she violated that trust says everything about her and nothing about us. What about the Morrison contract? Greg asked. I heard rumors that something went wrong with the payment. The Morrison payment is secure, Naomi said. It's in a protected account. That contract is moving forward as planned. In fact, I have good news. Because of the Morrison contract and several other deals in the pipeline, we're in a position to expand. I'm promoting Greg to marketing director, and we'll be hiring 2 new positions. The mood in the room shifted from worried to hopeful. They asked more questions, which Naomi answered as honestly as she could. By the end of the meeting, her team seemed stronger, more unified. They had faced a crisis together and come out intact. After everyone filed out, Sharon lingered. I just want you to know we're all behind you. Whatever you need, we're here. Thank you, Naomi said, feeling emotional. That means more than you know. The bail hearing was scheduled for 2 that afternoon. Christine had insisted Naomi didn't need to attend, but Naomi wanted to be there. She needed to see this through. The courthouse was intimidating with its marble floors and serious atmosphere. Christine met her outside the courtroom, briefcase in hand and all business. Brandon's hearing is first, then Tiffany's, Christine explained. Don't react to anything you hear. Don't make eye contact with them. Just observe. Inside the courtroom, Naomi sat in the back row. When they brought Brandon in, she almost didn't recognize him. He looked smaller somehow, diminished in his orange jumpsuit. His lawyer was arguing for reasonable bail, claiming Brandon wasn't a flight risk because he had ties to the community. Hugh Morrison stood up to counter. Your Honor, Mr. Campbell had plans to flee to Mexico. He has no legitimate employment, no real ties to this community. He married Miss Campbell under false pretenses with the express purpose of defrauding her. We have documented evidence of offshore accounts and property purchases in a foreign country. He is absolutely a flight risk. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the documents. Bail is set at $500,000. Mr. Campbell will surrender his passport and submit to electronic monitoring. Brandon's face fell. $500,000 was more than he could raise, especially since all the money he had stolen was now frozen. Tiffany's hearing was next. Her lawyer argued she was a respected professional with no criminal history. Hugh Morrison again presented evidence of embezzlement, fraud, and plans to flee the country. Your Honor, Ms. Reynolds stole nearly $250,000 from her employer, Hugh said. She established offshore accounts. She was planning to leave the country with her co-conspirator. She also committed adultery, though that's not criminal. It speaks to her character and willingness to deceive. Tiffany's bail was also set at $500,000 with the same conditions. As they led both defendants out, Tiffany looked directly at Naomi. Her expression was pure hatred. Naomi met her gaze without flinching, then looked away. Tiffany wasn't worth her emotional energy. Outside the courthouse, reporters had gathered. Somehow news of the case had leaked, probably because of the federal involvement and the amount of money involved. "Miss Campbell, how do you feel about your husband's arrest?" one reporter called out. Christine stepped in front of Naomi. "My client has no comment at this time. This is an ongoing legal matter, and we'll be addressing everything through appropriate legal channels." They hustled to Christine's car while cameras flashed. "I'm sorry about that," Christine said as they drove away. Criminal fraud cases attract attention, especially when there are sympathetic victims. "I'm not a victim," Naomi said firmly. "I'm a survivor." Over the next week, neither Brandon nor Tiffany could make bail. They remained in custody, which meant they couldn't interfere with the investigation or contact Naomi. It also meant they had plenty of time to think about what they had done. Jason Reynolds called Naomi on Wednesday. "I wanted to let you know I filed for divorce. My lawyer says it should be straightforward since Tiffany can't contest it from jail." "How are you doing?" Naomi asked. "Honestly, I'm devastated, but also angry, and also relieved. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," Naomi said. "I feel all of those things too. My lawyer suggested I might have a claim against your company for alienation of affection, but I told him that's ridiculous. This isn't your fault." "Thank you," Naomi said. "That means a lot." "Would you want to get coffee sometime?" Jason asked. "Not as a date or anything. Just as two people who survived the same kind of betrayal and might understand each other." Naomi considered it. "That sounds nice actually. Let me get through the next few weeks and then yes." Thomas was a constant presence throughout everything. He helped Naomi reorganize her finances, set up new security measures on all her accounts, and start the process of refinancing her house to remove Brandon's name from everything. "You're going to come out of this stronger," Thomas said one evening as they reviewed documents. "I know it doesn't feel like it now, but you will." "I lost 2 years of my life to a lie," Naomi said. "No, you lived 2 years of your life. You worked hard. You built your business. You formed relationships with clients and employees. Those things are real even if your marriage wasn't. Don't let Brandon's betrayal erase your own achievements." Naomi thought about that. He was right. Sterling Solutions was thriving despite everything. Her clients were loyal. Her employees respected her. She had created something real and valuable with or without Brandon. On Thursday, Christine called with news. "Tiffany's lawyer approached us about a plea deal. She wants to testify against Brandon in exchange for a reduced sentence." "Let me guess, she's claiming he manipulated her?" "Exactly. She says he pursued her, convinced her to help him, promised her a future together. She's trying to paint herself as another victim." "That's garbage," Naomi said. "I heard them both laughing about what they were doing. She was a willing participant." "I know. And we have recordings to prove it. I told her lawyer we're not interested in deals. She committed serious crimes and she needs to face full consequences." "What about Brandon? Is he trying to deal?" "His lawyer reached out too. He's willing to plead guilty to some charges in exchange for dropping others." Again I said no. "We have too much evidence. We're going to trial." The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Until then, Naomi had to wait and try to rebuild her life in the aftermath of the explosion. She moved back into her house, but it felt different now. She hired a cleaning service to deep clean everything, replaced the bedroom furniture and repainted several rooms. She was reclaiming the space, making it hers again. Her business continued to grow. The Morrison contract led to 3 more large contracts. She hired 2 new employees to replace Tiffany and handle the increased workload. Sterling Solutions was expanding faster than she had ever imagined. But at night, alone in her house, Naomi sometimes felt the weight of everything that had happened. The betrayal. The lies. The violation of her trust. She had won the battle, but the war had left scars. One evening, as she sat on her porch watching the sunset, her phone buzzed with an email from Christine. "Trial date set for next month. Are you ready?" Naomi looked at the email for a long moment, then typed back, "I'm ready." Because she was. She was ready to face Brandon and Tiffany in court. Ready to tell her story. Ready to see justice served. ready to finally close this chapter and move forward. The unraveling of their scheme was complete. Now came the reckoning. The trial began on a Tuesday morning in October. The courthouse was more crowded than Naomi expected, with reporters, curious onlookers, and even some of her employees who had taken the day off to support her. On the count of conspiracy to commit theft, we find both defendants guilty. The verdicts continued, guilty after guilty after guilty. On every charge for both defendants, the jury found them responsible. Naomi felt tears streaming down her face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, justice, validation. Brandon's face was pale. Tiffany was crying. Their lawyers looked defeated. The judge set sentencing for 3 weeks later. Until then, both defendants would remain in custody. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around Naomi. This time, Christine let her speak. "I just want to say that what happened to me could happen to anyone," Naomi said, her voice steady. "Fraud and betrayal don't have a specific look. The people who hurt me were people I trusted completely. But I also want to say that you can fight back. You can protect yourself. You can seek justice. I did, and I encourage anyone facing similar situations to do the same." "How do you feel now that they've been convicted?" a reporter asked. "Relieved. Validated. Ready to move forward with my life." "Do you have any message for other victims of financial fraud?" "Document everything. Trust your instincts. Get professional help. And never let someone convince you that fighting for yourself is wrong." The interview clips played on local news that evening. Naomi watched them at Thomas's apartment, still not quite believing it was over. "You were amazing," Thomas said. "Mom and Dad would be so proud of you." "I wish they were here," Naomi admitted. "They are," Thomas said, touching his heart. "Right here. And they're proud. I know they are." The sentencing hearing 3 weeks later was brief. The judge had reviewed all the evidence and victim impact statements. "Brandon Campbell, you are sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for fraud and conspiracy. You will also be required to pay full restitution to Ms. Campbell for all money stolen. Tiffany Reynolds, you are sentenced to 6 years in federal prison for embezzlement and conspiracy. You will also pay full restitution to Ms. Campbell and Sterling Solutions." Both defendants were also banned from working in financial services or positions of trust for the rest of their lives. As the bailiffs led them away, Brandon looked at Naomi one last time. She met his gaze without fear, without anger, without any emotion at all. He was just a stranger now, someone who had briefly disrupted her life but no longer mattered. Outside the courthouse, Jason Reynolds was waiting. His divorce from Tiffany had been finalized the week before. "Congratulations," he said to Naomi. "Justice served." "For both of us," Naomi replied. "That coffee I mentioned? Would you like to grab some now? I think we've both earned it." Naomi smiled. "That sounds perfect." They walked to a nearby cafe, two people who had survived betrayal and come out stronger. They talked for 2 hours about everything except Brandon and Tiffany. They talked about their jobs, their families, their hopes for the future. "I'm thinking about moving," Jason said. "Fresh start somewhere new." "I thought about that too," Naomi admitted. "But then I realized, why should I move? I didn't do anything wrong. I love my house. I love my city. I built my business here. Why should I leave because of what they did?" "That's a good point," Jason said. "Maybe I won't move either. Maybe I'll just redecorate." They laughed and it felt good. It felt like healing. When Naomi got home that evening, she walked through her house with new eyes. She had spent weeks making it hers again, erasing traces of Brandon. Now it was truly her sanctuary. She sat on her couch with a glass of wine and pulled out her laptop. She had work to do. Sterling Solutions had 3 new client proposals to review. She had interviews scheduled for a new assistant position. She had a business to run. But first, she opened her personal email and started writing. "Dear Mom and Dad," she typed. "I wish you were here to see this. I faced something terrible and I survived. I fought back and I won. You raised me to be strong, to stand up for myself, to never let anyone dim my light. Thank you for that. Thank you for everything. I'm going to be okay. Better than okay. I'm going to be extraordinary. Love always, Naomi." She sent the email to an old account that no longer existed, just to put the words out into the universe. Then she closed her laptop and looked around her beautiful home, at the life she had built and protected. The exposure was complete. The truth was public. Justice had been served. Now it was time for the next chapter. 3 months after the sentencing, Naomi's life had transformed in ways she never expected. Sterling Solutions was thriving beyond her wildest projections. The publicity from the trial, while initially unwanted, had actually brought positive attention to her business. Other companies saw her as someone who had integrity and strength, someone they wanted to work with. She hired 5 more employees. She moved the office to a larger space with more natural light and better amenities. She even started a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs, particularly women, teaching them about protecting their businesses and themselves. The restitution money had started coming in through garnished wages and seized assets. It would take years to recover everything, but at least it was happening. Naomi donated half of what she recovered to organizations that helped victims of financial fraud. Her personal life was also changing. She and Jason had become genuine friends, meeting for coffee every week to talk about their lives and healing processes. There was no romance between them, just mutual understanding and support. "I started dating someone," Jason told her one Tuesday afternoon. "Her name is Nicole. She teaches at my school." "That's wonderful," Naomi said sincerely. "I'm happy for you. What about you? Are you ready to date again?" Naomi considered the question. "Maybe. Eventually. But right now I'm focused on myself and my business. I'm learning to trust my own judgment again." "That makes sense. We both need time." At work, Greg had stepped into the marketing director role seamlessly. Sharon had been promoted to senior consultant. The new employees fit in perfectly with the company culture. It was like the space Tiffany had left had been filled with something better, something genuine. One afternoon, Naomi was in her new office reviewing a contract when her assistant knocked on the door. "There's someone here to see you," she said. "He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important. His name is Joshua Bennett." Naomi's mind flashed back. Joshua Bennett. The business consultant who had helped her restructure her company during the crisis. She had worked with him several times, but always professionally, never personally. "Send him in," Naomi said, curious. Joshua walked into her office looking exactly as she remembered. Tall, professional, with kind eyes and a warm smile. He was holding a folder. "Miss Campbell," he said. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all. Please call me Naomi. What can I do for you?" "Actually, I came to do something for you." He handed her the folder. "I've been following your case. When you hired me months ago, you never told me the full story about why you needed help restructuring your accounts. I just thought it was normal business evolution." Naomi opened the folder. Inside were detailed reports about Brandon and Tiffany's financial activities that she hadn't known about. "How did you get this?" she asked. "I'm also a forensic financial analyst," Joshua explained. "After the trial made the news, I did some digging on my own time. I found more evidence of their fraud. Things that might have been missed. I thought you should have it in case there are additional civil suits you want to file." Naomi looked through the documents. There were transactions she had never seen, accounts she didn't know existed, evidence of even more theft than had been prosecuted. "This is incredible work," she said. "Why would you do this for free?" Joshua sat down across from her. "Because what happened to you was wrong. And because I admire how you fought back. I wanted to help, even in a small way." "This isn't small," Naomi said. "This is huge. Thank you." "You're welcome." He paused, then added, "There's something else. I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to speak at a conference I'm organizing. It's about business security and protecting assets. Your story could help a lot of people." "I'd be honored," Naomi said. Over the next few weeks, Naomi and Joshua worked together on her conference presentation. They met several times to refine the content, and Naomi found herself enjoying his company. He was intelligent, funny, and genuinely interested in helping people protect themselves from fraud. "You know," Joshua said during one of their meetings, "you're really inspiring. The way you handled everything, the way you rebuilt your business, the way you're helping others now. It's remarkable." "I just did what I had to do," Naomi said modestly. "No, you did more than that. A lot of people would have given up. You fought." Naomi smiled. "Well, I had good help. Good lawyers, good accountants, good friends. And your own strength," Joshua added. "Don't discount that." The conference was held in a large hotel ballroom with over 200 attendees. Naomi stood at the podium, looking out at all the faces, and felt nervous for the first time in months. But when she started speaking, the words flowed naturally. She told her story honestly. The betrayal, the discovery, the plan, the fight, the victory. She talked about red flags she had missed, warning signs she should have seen, but also about how sophisticated fraud can be. "Don't blame yourself if you've been a victim," Naomi said to the audience. "Blame the person who committed the crime. Your trust is not a weakness. Their betrayal is." But you can protect yourself. You can fight back. You can win. The standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes. Afterward, dozens of people came up to thank her, to share their own stories, to ask for advice. Joshua stood back, watching with a proud smile. When the crowd finally thinned, he approached her. "You were incredible," he said. "Thank you. For everything. For the extra research, for inviting me to speak, for supporting me through this process. Would you like to have dinner sometime?" Joshua asked. "Not as colleagues. As friends. Or maybe more than friends if you're interested." Naomi looked at him, really looked at him. She saw kindness in his eyes, genuine respect in his expression. She felt no red flags, no warning bells, just a gentle possibility. "I'd like that," she said. "But I need to take things slow." "Slow is good," Joshua agreed. "Slow is perfect." They had dinner the following week at a quiet restaurant with excellent food and low lighting. They talked for 3 hours about everything except business. Their childhoods, their dreams, their favorite books and movies. "I should tell you," Naomi said as the evening wound down, "I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I'm still healing from everything that happened." "I understand," Joshua said. "I'm not trying to rush you into anything. I just enjoy your company and wanted to spend more time together." "I enjoy your company too," Naomi admitted. Over the next few months, she and Joshua developed a relationship that was careful and gradual. He never pushed for more than she was ready to give. He respected her boundaries. He showed up when he said he would. He was honest about his feelings and his life. It was the opposite of everything Brandon had been. Meanwhile, the fallout from the trial continued. Brandon's parents had tried to contact Naomi, begging her to reduce his sentence or help him somehow. She had declined. Tiffany's mother had written angry letters claiming Naomi had ruined her daughter's life. Naomi had ignored them. She felt no obligation to help the people who had tried to destroy her, or to comfort their families. That wasn't cruel. It was healthy boundaries. Jason got engaged to Nicole after 6 months of dating. Naomi was genuinely happy for them and attended their small engagement party. "You were right," Jason told her at the party. "About not letting what they did steal our futures. I almost gave up on love completely. But Nicole showed me that not everyone is like Tiffany. And Joshua is showing me the same thing," Naomi said, watching Joshua across the room as he talked with Nicole about teaching. "So it's official? You and Joshua?" "It's something," Naomi said with a smile. "We're taking it slow, but yes, it's something good." Sterling Solutions celebrated its best quarter ever. Naomi threw a party for her employees, thanking them for their hard work and loyalty during the difficult times. "This company survived a major crisis," Naomi said during her toast. "Not because of one person, but because of all of us working together. Because we have integrity. Because we care about our clients and each other. Because we built something real. Thank you all for being part of this family." Greg raised his glass. "To Naomi, who showed us all what real strength looks like." "To Naomi," everyone echoed. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Naomi sat in her office looking at the city lights through her window. Her new office had an incredible view, much better than the old one. She thought about where she had been a year ago. Married to a man who was plotting to steal from her. Trusting an employee who was robbing her blind. Working hard but missing all the signs of betrayal around her. And now, she was stronger, wiser, more successful. Surrounded by genuine people who actually cared about her. Building a life that was truly hers, not contaminated by lies. The fallout from betrayal had been painful. But it had also been transformative. It had forced her to become the person she was always meant to be. She pulled out her phone and texted Joshua, "Thank you for being patient with me." He responded immediately, "Thank you for being worth waiting for." Naomi smiled and turned off her office lights, ready to go home to her beautiful house and her beautiful life. A life she had fought for and won. The fallout was complete. The rebuilding was underway. The future was bright. 6 months later, Naomi stood in front of a mirror in her bedroom, adjusting the collar of her blouse. It was early morning, and sunlight streamed through windows she had replaced with larger ones that let in more light. Her bedroom was completely different now, decorated in colors she loved, filled with furniture she had chosen herself. Today was special. Today, Sterling Solutions was opening a second office in Chicago, a full expansion that represented everything she had built and overcome. And tonight, she was attending a gala where she would receive an award for entrepreneurship and resilience. Her phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. "Big day, sis. Proud of you. See you tonight." Another text from Christine. "The civil suit settlement is final. You'll receive the last of the restitution by end of month. Another from Joshua, can't wait to celebrate with you tonight. You deserve every bit of success coming your way. Naomi smiled, feeling grateful for the people in her life who genuinely cared about her. Real people. Honest people. People who showed up when things were hard and celebrated when things were good. At the office, her team had decorated the conference room with banners reading, "Congratulations Naomi," and "Chicago here we come." There was breakfast, coffee, and genuine excitement in the air. Speech. Greg called out. Naomi laughed but obliged. A year ago this company faced a serious crisis. Someone we trusted betrayed that trust. But you know what? That crisis didn't break us. It made us stronger. It made us more careful, yes, but also more confident in who we are and what we stand for. Today we're not just surviving, we're thriving. We're expanding. We're growing. And it's because of all of you. Sharon stood up. And it's because of you. You could have given up. You could have closed the business. But you fought for what was right and you protected all of us in the process. You're an incredible leader, Naomi. The team applauded, and Naomi felt tears threaten but held them back. Happy tears were okay, but she had cried enough over the past year. Now was time for joy. The morning was filled with interviews about the expansion. Reporters asked about her plans for the Chicago office, about her business philosophy, about her recovery from the fraud case. I don't like to define myself by what happened to me, Naomi told one reporter. Yes, I survived fraud and betrayal. But I'm not a victim. I'm a successful businesswoman who had to overcome a challenge. That challenge doesn't define me. My response to it does. In the afternoon, Naomi had a video call with the Chicago team. 5 new employees who were excited to be part of Sterling Solutions. They had decorated their new office space and were ready to serve clients in the Midwest. Welcome to the family, Naomi told them. We believe in integrity, excellence, and supporting each other. If you embody those values, you're going to do great things here. After work, Naomi went home to get ready for the gala. She had bought a new dress for the occasion, a stunning emerald green that complemented her skin tone beautifully. Simple jewelry, elegant heels, natural makeup that highlighted her features without overwhelming them. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw someone completely different from the woman who had stood frozen in her kitchen doorway 18 months ago. That woman had been broken, betrayed, shattered. This woman was whole, strong, radiant. Joshua picked her up at 6:30, looking handsome in a dark suit. You look beautiful, he said, kissing her cheek. You clean up pretty well yourself, Naomi teased. They had been officially dating for 4 months now, taking things slowly but steadily. Joshua had met Thomas, who approved. He had come to company events and impressed her employees with his kindness and intelligence. He had proven himself trustworthy through consistent actions over time. Naomi wasn't in love yet, but she could see it happening eventually. And that was okay. Love didn't have to be rushed or forced. It could grow naturally, built on a foundation of respect and genuine connection. The gala was held at a beautiful venue downtown, filled with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and community organizers. Naomi recognized several people she had worked with over the years. Thomas arrived with his girlfriend, Patricia, someone he had been dating for a few months. My baby sister, the award winner, he said, pulling Naomi into a hug. Our parents would be losing their minds with pride right now, Naomi said. They're watching, Thomas said seriously. I know they are. Christine came over with her husband. Ready for your moment in the spotlight? As ready as I'll ever be, Naomi admitted. When they called her name to present the award, Naomi walked onto the stage with confidence. The presenter talked about her business success, her integrity during the fraud case, her commitment to helping other entrepreneurs. Naomi Campbell represents the best of what business can be, the presenter said. Not just profitable but ethical. Not just strong but compassionate. She faced devastating betrayal and responded with grace, determination, and justice. She protected not just herself but her employees and clients. She turned a crisis into an opportunity for growth. She is truly an inspiration. Naomi accepted the award, a beautiful glass sculpture, and stood at the microphone. Thank you so much for this honor, she began. A year and a half ago, I discovered that people I trusted were trying to steal everything I had built. I had a choice in that moment. I could collapse under the weight of that betrayal or I could fight back. I chose to fight. But I didn't fight alone. I had incredible lawyers, accountants, investigators, and most importantly, family and friends who supported me. My brother Thomas, who I had pushed away but who welcomed me back without hesitation. My friend Christine, who guided me through the legal maze. My employees who stayed loyal even when things were uncertain. And all the people in my life who reminded me that not everyone is a liar or a thief. She paused, looking out at the audience. If you're facing betrayal or fraud or any kind of crisis, I want you to know that you can survive it. You can fight back. You can win. But more importantly, you can rebuild something even better than what you had before. Because the truth is, what I lost wasn't worth keeping. A dishonest marriage, a dishonest employee, money that wasn't being earned honestly. What I have now is real. My business is built on integrity. My relationships are built on trust. My life is built on truth. And that's worth more than any amount of stolen money. The applause was thunderous. People stood. Naomi saw strangers wiping tears from their eyes. After the ceremony, dozens of people came up to talk to her. Business owners who had faced similar situations. Young entrepreneurs who were inspired by her story. People who just wanted to shake her hand and say congratulations. Jason and Nicole were there, having bought tickets to support Naomi. That was beautiful, Nicole said. You're amazing. We should do dinner soon, Jason suggested. All four of us. Double date. I'd love that, Naomi said, genuinely meaning it. Later, as the event wound down, Joshua took her hand. How do you feel? Grateful, Naomi said honestly. Exhausted but grateful. A year ago I was fighting just to survive. Tonight I'm being celebrated for thriving. It's surreal. You earned it, Joshua said. Every bit of it. They left the gala and walked along the waterfront, even though Naomi was wearing heels. The city lights reflected off the water, and the night air was perfect. Can I tell you something? Joshua asked. Of course. I'm falling in love with you. Naomi stopped walking and looked at him. He looked nervous but sincere. I know we agreed to take things slow, he continued. And we can keep doing that. I'm not asking you to say it back or to change anything. I just wanted you to know how I feel. You're incredible, Naomi. Not just because you're successful or strong, but because you're kind and honest and you care about people. I feel lucky just to know you. Naomi felt her heart expand. For the first time since Brandon, she felt safe enough to consider love again. I'm not quite there yet, she said honestly. But I'm getting there. And I can tell you that you're the first person since everything happened who makes me believe I can get there. That's enough for me, Joshua said, kissing her gently. They walked back to his car and he drove her home. At her door, she invited him in for coffee, and they sat on her couch talking until midnight about dreams and plans and possibilities. After he left, Naomi walked through her house one more time before bed. Every room reflected who she was now. Strong. Independent. Successful. Real. She went to her home office and opened her laptop. She wanted to document this day, this feeling, this moment of triumph. Dear future me, she typed. Today you received an award. Today your business expanded. Today someone told you they're falling in love with you, and you didn't run away. Today you stood in front of hundreds of people and told your story with pride instead of shame. Remember this day. Remember that you survived something terrible and turned it into something beautiful. Remember that betrayal doesn't define you, but how you responded to it does. Remember that you are strong enough to rebuild. You are worthy of real love. You are capable of extraordinary things. Keep going. Keep growing. Keep being amazing. You've earned it. She saved the document and closed her laptop. Then she went to her bedroom, changed into comfortable clothes and climbed into her bed. As she drifted off to sleep, Naomi thought about the metaphor of a phoenix, a bird that rises from ashes. That's what she had done. Brandon and Tiffany had tried to burn her life to the ground, but she had risen from those ashes stronger, fiercer, more magnificent than before. She was a phoenix, and her flight had only just begun.